So yes, welcome again, everybody, to DevFest Troy 2025. My name is Roman. I am also a GDG organizer at GDG Lawrence, like Yulia mentioned. I actually even have a couple of gifts for you after the session. You guys can come over. I'm gonna have like stickers. I'm also gonna be raffling this, little toy for you guys at the end. So I hope I'm gonna make you work for it. So make sure to pay attention throughout the presentation. So yes, I know that you guys have heard a lot about Gemini, but I wanted to see where you guys are as far as like Flutter. Has anybody heard about Flutter or is using Flutter? Awesome, great. So for those of you who don't know, Flutter is this amazing UI framework. It's natively compiled, it's open source, supported by Google, and you can build amazing applications in a multi-platform fashion using one single code base. So what we're talking about today is actually mostly about how to unlock Gemini's potential through Flutter, building applications in Flutter. Let me see, make sure that this is connected. Okay, perfect. So yeah, actually I'm going to be talking about like how to build the next generation of Gemini-powered Flutter applications. So you can build amazing experiences for your users that are powered by AI, especially Gemini, because of course it's the same family of like the whole ecosystem, the whole Google ecosystem. But I'm going to show you through a series of demos also, how you can actually unlock the potential of Gemini through Flutter applications beyond chatbots. You know that whenever you see out there, like, okay, let me interact with an application that has AI integrated, you usually think of a chatbot. So no, you can actually take your applications beyond chatbot. Let's do a quick exercise right here. So why don't you guys follow along? I'm going to ask you a question. How many years do you think each one of these entities, let's say, took to reach 50 million users? You can shout it out. Let's start with airplanes. Yes, the gentleman right there?
Maybe like 100 years.
100 years? Who else? Airplanes, how long did it reach 50 million users? Anybody wants to shout it out? How many? 10. I hear 100. Nobody else? It's actually 68 years. So 68 years it took to reach 50 million users. How about the internet as a whole? Shout it out. You can. 10? 20?
15.
Okay, let's see. 7 years. So it took 7 years to reach 50 million users. Now let's say we are in the advent of social media. Let's say something like Facebook. How long did it take for Facebook to reach 50 million users? Just shout it out. 4? 3? Anybody else? Exactly, 3 years. So you see, you're catching on. How about AI, generative AI in general? How long did it take to reach 50 million users?
2 years.
3 days.
3 days?
6 months.
6 months? Days? 5 weeks. That's how it is as far as you see all these technologies, how it took to reach this amount of users. So we are in a different times, and how exponentially it has become when it comes to adoption of generative AI, of such a revolutionary technology like AI. So you have to take advantage of these, this technology, so then you can reach this many users in even a short period of time. Awesome. So yeah, what is Gemini? A lot of people here are like, yeah, what is Gemini? But it's an amazing technology. It's supported by Google. It's Google's family of large language models. And they're designed for different tasks. You see that Gemini can generate images, can create documents, like Alice was mentioning. You can do like a bunch of things with like app script. You can, of course, right here, I know that some of the professors are here. Yeah, you can create your college paper, but maybe you should actually be using it for other purposes. But yes, you can have like a lot of things: generation of code, generation of images, even music. It does a lot of things. Also, you can use it for many other tasks. But people now have been integrating it into their applications to make their applications a lot more robust. Their applications, with a lot of features like, let's say, language translation, reasoning, sentiment analysis. And those are the things that you're going to be seeing in some of the demos that I'm going to show you that I've actually developed myself, but I just want to share it with you as well. So why Gemini for Flutter? So again, like I mentioned, Flutter is this open source UI framework supported by Google that allows you to publish in one single code base using the Dart programming language. You can publish it to 9 different platforms. 9 different platforms with one single code base, as opposed to you having multiple code bases, multiple languages. With Flutter, it allows you to do that. So why not pair such an amazing framework like Flutter that you can reach a large amount of users with one single code base, and then that not only allows you to be more productive, but you can reach that many users. And if you pair it up with something like Gemini, now you have the power of AI-powered applications, elegant applications, beautiful UIs, natively compiled, and you can reach that many users. So you can unlock new possibilities when you bring these 2 technologies together. And exactly like Alice was mentioning. So if you want to dip your toes into AI, but you're not a coder, or you're a coder, but you at least want to prototype your idea, you can use something like Google AI Studio. Google AI Studio allows you to prototype your ideas. You do like prompting, and then you can test out your idea. Let's say you want to build an application, but you don't want to spend like months coding. You first want to check whether the application has legs, or if this idea has legs. You just pop over to Google AI Studio, get an API key, just like you mentioned, and then you can start prototyping your idea. Once you see like, okay, maybe this is pretty good, then let me go to the next phase. But if you want to do like your ideation and you want to practice and you want to check, prototype your ideas, Google AI Studio is the way to go. Now you're ready to start building your application. Okay, so now I'm ready to code it. So what would be a best way for me to start doing it? Do I need to invest a bunch of time in order to build my application? I have to get like an expensive machine? No, you can actually use something like Firebase Studio. It's actually a web-based IDE, also powered by Google and Firebase, where you can build your application. You can just open up a browser and you can immediately start building applications, even native applications, right from your web browser. And of course, it has integration to the Google Cloud with all the Firebase family of services. You have authentication, you have hosting, you have the power of Gemini. You can have Firebase Cloud Firestore, like an amazing document collection database. So a lot of things you could do with Firebase Studio the same way that you could do it, for example, like with Google AI Studio, but now you're building full-blown applications, not just Flutter, but you could do backend applications, web applications with Firebase Studio. I suggest everybody creating an account on Firebase Studio, and you can start prototyping your ideas in no time. Yes. Yes, question? Oh, sorry. Here.
Quick question. So this is great. If I have to put a very simple application, if I think about that,
Yes.
This is hello world, right? I'm sure I can do this. Is that application I can run on Android based phone?
Yes, because Firebase Studio has even an emulator for Android, and you can build native Android applications right from your web. You can build a Hello World application, and you can just download it.
Not just if I can upload that
You
somewhere and then I can just download it.
Of course, yes, you can do that. Firebase Studio allows you to do that. And that's something that maybe a lot of people didn't know. You can go to Firebase Studio, build an application, download the APK, install it on your phone, and start using it right away. So it's great for fast prototyping. Thank you for your question. So let's discuss now the regular use cases that you can use your Flutter applications powered with Gemini. For example, you could do dynamically generated content for your users based on their preferences. For example, you could do like sentiment analysis. You can build applications that generate content. Imagine, for example, in the past, when let's say you wanted to build something let's say like an e-commerce application. Imagine like Amazon, for example, that it gives you recommendations on your products. Before, you needed to create a specific model, you needed to create a recommendation engine. Not anymore. You can use even the core aspect of Gemini, and you can even build applications of that caliber with very little effort. Of course, if you want to make it more customized for your needs, then you would have to ground the model and you have to like pre-train it for your needs. But even right now, you can do a lot with exactly the way that the Gemini works, and you can tap into Gemini by just using regular APIs. If you just want to tap into Gemini, you can just make an HTTP request to the Gemini API, and you can get all those capabilities just at your fingertips. So I'm going to show you now how to create, for example, like interactive learning experiences using Gemini and Flutter with some of the demos that I'm about to show you. For example, this is an application a prototype that I've been building. It's called Duper Skills. So imagine if you can build an application that generates a personalized learning experience just for you. For example, you say, I want to learn Python. I'm a beginner. and I want to generate content in the form of videos, PDFs, and links so I can read up. This application, I built it in like probably less than a week, and I was able to create like very compelling UI, and just using the core Gemini API. I'm not even training a model or anything like that. I was able to generate personalized content, learning content only just for me, which is even different from your own experience, and it actually generate a personalized learning plan just for me. Then I was able to integrate, for example, generating like a quiz based on a topic that you give it. And it generates like a quiz UI for you, so that you can let's say study up on a subject, and it generates that experience for you. It also created I was able to even integrate it with like a kind of like a personalized way to let me just show you again. So for example, you can make it so that you can make it more collaborative. Like you can create this personalized learning plan, but you can share it with other friends. Let's say, oh, let's study up together. So why don't just create like a study party with this application, all powered by Gemini, and it generates all the content for you, personalized for your own learning experience. So this is the kind of stuff that you can build with Gemini and Flutter. And this is what I was mentioning. So before even I started with this idea, I was able to create like this prompt. A prompt like this, you would just give it to AI Studio. For example, look at the prompt. It just says, generate a learning program payload for a, let's say, beginner in Python in the form of, and then you tell it like either videos, links, or something like that in JSON format. So if you tell it like this, and then you generate, for example, what is it that you're expecting out of Gemini, it's as if you were calling an API. But this, I did it just in AI Studio to generate kind of like what it would generate for my application. So stuff like this, you can do it very easily just in AI Studio, even before you build the application. And then this is how I would actually do it in code. For example, this is now the same prompt that I showed you. Now, if you use the APIs, you would create a prompt. Then you would create something like this, which is like a schema object. This is you telling Gemini, I want you to reply to me in a specific format so my application can interpret it in that way. Instead of Gemini replying to your application in plain English, it would actually reply in a format that it would understand, like a JSON structure like this, like a schema object. And last but not least, once you set up your schema and your prompt, you just send it to Gemini, and Gemini will reply to you with something like this. This, for you, if you know coding, you would understand, yeah, this is a structured, payload that you would expect from any API that you may be building. But actually, Gemini can reply to you this way as if you had already built an API. So this is pretty cool how you can tap into Gemini without you even build your own infrastructure, and you can already tap into it by calling Gemini and ask it exactly how you want the response to be. This is how I architected the application. So imagine you have a Flutter application running on your mobile device. You collect all the user preferences, what they want to learn, what the format they want to learn on, and what is it that they want to learn, and what level they are. Then you use this specific client SDK that you can tap into Gemini. You send it to Gemini, and Gemini replies to you with this specific format, in this specific schema, and then you just parse the JSON that it receives, and then you can render the UI the way that you want it. You see, in no way here I showed you a backend that I created. I did not create a backend. I only tapped into the existing Gemini API, but I was able to build a great experience for my users. And in no time, I was able to put something in front of my users, and they were able to immediately enjoy and create, experience something really cool. So now how you integrate Gemini with Flutter, I just show you something brief, but now I'll tell you exactly the details. So how you can integrate Gemini with Flutter. I show you a little bit of code, but this is exactly the way that you do it. In order to integrate Gemini with Flutter, you use either one of those two libraries. You can use the Firebase Vertex AI or Firebase AI. Those are two packages available for Flutter. If you go to pub.dev, you can download these two. You can bring these two packages into your applications, and you can tap into it. There was one called Google Generative AI, but that is deprecated. But now the two packages that you can use are Firebase Vertex AI, and now it will be replaced by Firebase AI. So Firebase AI will be the only one that you should be using to power your Flutter applications with Gemini functionality. And why Firebase? Because now I'm bringing Firebase. Oh, Roman, you were just talking about Flutter, then Gemini, now you're bringing Firebase. Why Firebase? Because Firebase is another feature of Google. It's another family of services that allow you to build very robust mobile and backend services and backend applications, right? And Firebase, because it's tied to the Google Cloud, it gives you more robust capabilities. It protects your API key. You can tap into other services in the Google Cloud, such as authentication, databases, Firebase App Check, cloud storage, cloud functions, a plethora of services, because now you make your applications more robust, but at the same time, you tap into Gemini. So using Firebase, the Firebase SDK with Vertex AI and Flutter, now you're gonna get like a more robust application right from the get-go. And yes, it's gonna be called, and that the whole library is called the Firebase AI Logic. So keep an eye on that. And of course, yeah, that's exactly what I just mentioned. Just by having Firebase in the middle, protecting your API keys and protecting the Gemini API, you can also tap into some of the other functionality like I just mentioned. And this is how you use it in your application. So take a look at this. So you import the packages. You import, for example, the Firebase AI. Of course, you need to import the Firebase core packages. And you initialize your application. Now, if you want to use it for production, let's say you're ready to publish it in production, you use the Firebase AI Vertex AI API. But let's say you are in development mode, let's say you're still prototyping it, you use the Google AI API. So look, you use the Vertex AI for production, use the Google AI for development. Then you specify what is the large language model that you're going to use. In this particular case, the 2.0 Flash. This is the configuration that you tell Gemini how you want the payload to come back to you. And then you just pass the prompt. For example, please generate me a personalized plan on Python for a beginner in the form of videos and links. And then you just send it like that. You receive the response, and then you just parse it. By parsing the response, your application thinks it's talking to any other backend. And now you can make it very streamlined, and you can pull information that Gemini is generating for you. Great. So on other use cases, so more use cases on how you can do that. So you can do intelligent assistance. Gemini has the capability of doing like sentiment analysis. Before, I know that it would be crazy for you to like build a model that has sentiment analysis integrating with it, or it would be very expensive. Now, Gemini does have sentiment analysis. For example, let's say if you tell it, tell me if I'm happy by me giving you a phrase. For example, the sky is very dark and I feel cold. So that's more like, that doesn't sound like you're happy. That's maybe you're gloomy. So something like that. So sentiment analysis, Gemini has that. So you could have conversational applications that could, provide personalized recommendations and stuff like that. Let me show you this particular demo that I created. This is a 2.1 screen inch that I connected to a Raspberry Pi, and I was able to site load this Raspberry Pi with an open source Android distro called Prime OS. So I was able to create my own personal assistant, which I called it Doopy. So to Doopy, I would just load it into my Raspberry Pi, and I would say, Doopy, tell me a joke, or please go to sleep, and Doopy would actually react accordingly. I created this using, again, just the same version of Flutter. I just loaded it on the Raspberry Pi. It has a microphone module, if you see it right there, connected to the USB. And then I was able to talk to it, like send it voice commands. Those voice commands would be converted to text, then assembled into a prompt, and then I would send it to Gemini, and Gemini will reply accordingly. For example, Doopy, go away, and then just Doopy, go away. I created like even a 3D printed case because I wanted like to productize it. So imagine you building like your own Alexa or your own like home Google Home experience. So this is how I architected it. So imagine having a Raspberry Pi, like an embedded device, small module, and you load it with Prime OS, which you can load Android on it. So you can site load your Flutter application onto this small device. The small device has a microphone module that I can send voice commands. The voice commands are converted to text. The text can be parsed and assembled into a prompt, send it to Gemini using the Firebase AI SDK, and Gemini will reply back to me with the structure that I tell it. Like, I want you to reply to me with a sentiment property and tell me, based on what I say, whether I'm happy. I give it like a set of pre-created options. That way my application would know how to reply accordingly. Then from that response, then I would play the corresponding animation. So very, very, very straightforward. Let me show you this other experience. So it's actually, this is pretty much the same thing, but instead of me loading it on a module, like on an embedded module, I was able to grab the same application and I loaded it on an Android watch. No changes whatsoever. I grabbed the same application that I put on the board and I put it on an Android watch. The Android watch has a microphone, has cameras, has sensors, so I was able to even on the go be able to tap into my personal smart assistant. Like I would say, oh, Doopy, tell me a joke, and it would, just like laugh, or I say, hey, Doopy, please go to sleep. So I would actually, and again, that's what I was mentioning. This is the beauty of building applications in Flutter, because you can, one single code base, you can publish it to multiple platforms, whether it's embedded, web, Android, mobile devices, embedded devices, wearable devices, all types of devices with one single code base, no changes whatsoever. So this is again the beauty of building applications that are powered by Gemini that you can carry across multiple devices. Yes?
So none of this fiber base is proprietary, because in case if I use it commercially, is it okay? Is it licensed, non-licensed?
No. All of that is completely open source, and you can just use it freely. And you can even then, of course, if you want to productize it, then that's a different thing, but you can use it freely, no license or anything like that. Specifically, the one that I told you about is completely open source. Thank you for your question. So look, the architecture is exactly the same as before, but instead of doing remember, the device was only an embedded device, but now it's just a wearable. But I was able to use a Flutter application, tapping into Gemini, and then this application, I can distribute it anywhere I want. So it's pretty much the same architecture. So other experiences that you can build, like more dynamic visualizations. Now imagine bringing Flutter and Gemini into the real world. I was showing you, for example, okay, how you can tap on a wearable device, let's say on an embedded device. But how about if you bring Gemini to the real world? So I came up with a game called Into the Googleverse. So I created like my own Monopoly. Imagine I created my own Monopoly what is actually powered by Gemini. This board is actually rigged with a bunch of NFC tags, like NFC chips, and then the mobile application is actually behaving like you as the player. You can purchase properties like Google properties. I don't know if you guys, anybody has played Monopoly. You know that Monopoly has the casualties and the community chest. So instead of doing that, you actually get like random outcomes on every turn. No two games are the same, and they're actually powered by Gemini. So using Gemini, I was able, you tap on the board, you can purchase a property, you can play with your own characters, and as you move around across the board, Gemini is keeping track of where you are, and it would give you a different outcome every time. So you can make it really fun. You can make very unique experiences like this, where you could bring Gemini out of the digital world into the real world, and you can create really cool experiences. So this is pretty much what your users would be expecting from you moving forward, experiences like this. There are, of course, ethical considerations when you're building these type of applications, because you need to make sure that your users' data is protected. You need to make sure that you have to have privacy by design. You don't want to, expose users' data out there, or let it just run rampant, and the AI is like tapping into all this data and maybe using it maliciously or not using it appropriately. Of course, you need to enforce trust through security. So it's not just like, oh, it's all really cool. Let's just build cool AI applications that just go crazy. No, you actually need to have some level of control, of course. This is another application that I created, and this one is actually more of another type of collaborative learning experience. This is actually powered by Gemini. Imagine that you want to create an application where people just want to learn in a fun way. This way, for example, you just feed Gemini a topic, and it would generate like a quiz, pretty much like before. And now what you do is Gemini generates the questions, and then players, they answer the questions. Whoever gets it right moves on to the next step. You see, these experiences like this, sure, you can build it with Flutter, but they're also powered by Gemini, and you can create very engaging experiences like this. We're using Firebase for the real-time communication, because let's say if you have a multiplayer experience, a player wants to submit their result, like their answer, and then you submit it to the, let's say, to the game via Firebase, and then you leverage those real-time capabilities of Firebase. So there are so many aspects that you can bring together into your own applications. So again, the future of Gemini and Flutter, again, it's evolving right now, but it's something that you should, again, pick up and start implementing it on your own applications, because you have such a plethora of ways in which you can implement it. You have, of course, real-time adaptation, edge computing, like I mentioned, agentic UIs. Now, agentic UIs refers to how with Gemini or any LLMs can actually create UIs on the fly based on your own preferences. Long gone are the days where you're gonna have like a predefined UI for every user. No, agentic UIs will actually generate UIs based on your specific needs and to solve those problems. So they will be like on-demand UIs. So something like that is actually what's coming down the pike. So please continue paying attention to that. This is another application that I've been building. This is actually a more like of a social experience where you can. It's called Fun Dare. So imagine if you wanna like create like more challenges among people. Like let's make fun challenges. Like the drawing challenge. But instead of being judged by a person, Gemini actually becomes a biased judge and determines whether you completed the challenge or not. So in this case, for example, you're sitting in front of a camera, you complete a challenge, given a specific criteria and an amount of time, and then Gemini can tell whether you completed that challenge or not. So for example, this one I'm doing like the cup challenge. So if you just tell Gemini, I'm gonna complete a challenge, this is what the outcome should be, tell me whether I completed it or not. So this is one of those experiences, again, like I said, that your users would be expecting from you when it comes to using AI in a creative way to bring people together. So yeah, this one I had a lot of fun doing this one. And the architecture, again, is pretty simple. So you can just either provide a direct video feed to Gemini, or in this particular case, we're building it as a Flutter application. So you obtain the video feed of the camera, or you can send it, let's say, image frames. You send this to Gemini. Gemini analyzes it along with a prompt, and then it replies to you again, like I keep mentioning, in the format that your application would be expecting. So this is what is called multimodal prompting. Like you can just send to Gemini not just text, like a text prompt, but you can send it images, you can send it audio, you can send it in many formats, and then it can analyze that content and then reply to you in the format that you desire. This is actually approved by my wife. My wife is over here, my son also there supporting me. Thank you guys for coming. This is actually, I created this for my house. So I even rigged my fridge with a tablet. I put a camera inside of the fridge. So the camera would collect everything that is inside of the fridge, like all the food items. All those elements would be collected by the camera. When I grab that, then I send that to Gemini. Gemini will reply back to me, telling me everything that was on my fridge. And then when I receive that, then I say, okay, now that I know what's on my fridge, can you make something fun, like a cool recipe for something really nutritious? Like I want to be more health conscious. So I want you to create like a cool recipe for me. So check this out. So the camera is inside of the fridge. The Firebase Vertex AI SDK receives the image of whatever's on the fridge, replies back to me with a payload saying, well, you have fruits, you have milk, you have this, you have that. Then now what do you want to do with this? And then I say, okay, I want to scramble eggs, Hawaiian scramble eggs, I don't know. And then, see, like I even rigged like an Android tablet outside of the fridge, and the camera is actually connected inside of the fridge. When I showed this to my wife, instead, I thought she was going to say, oh my God, this is so cool. She said, did you ruin my fridge? I'm like, no, I promise I didn't ruin it. But it's pretty cool, it's pretty fun. But these are, again, like I said, the kinds of things that are expected from our users when you use Gemini and, for example, stuff like Flutter. So you create engaging experiences that can tap into the capabilities of large language models. You don't have to stick with a chatbot. That's the premise of this talk, beyond chatbots. So instead of just doing a chatbot where I say, this is what's on my fridge, can you do that? No, why don't you do an experience like this, which is actually more, more engaging and more rich. So yeah, definitely had a lot of fun building this prototype right there. And again, it's the same thing as I showed before. I send first an initial payload of the whatever was inside of the fridge. I just captured an image, send it to Gemini. Gemini will reply back to me telling me, okay, this is the list of ingredients or the list of items. First, I get an initial payload. Then now that I have that, I said, okay, Gemini, now that you know what's on the fridge, can you go generate something like a cool recipe for me? And then I would just return back to my application, render it in a cool UI. You know, you see like the fridge dancing and all of that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so now, just to wrap it up, I just wanted to say, if you want to get started on Gemini and building applications with Flutter, these are actually the QR code for the slides. So I'm sharing the slides with you right now. There are a bunch of resources that you can use. But again, you can start with Google AI Studio. You can do Firebase Studio if you want to prototype those applications. Of course, make sure to use the Firebase AI SDK. And remember, Flutter and AI, there's also great resources right there. Also, I even have some code labs that I've created myself so that you guys can start playing with that and learn on your own, and you can just go ahead and play with that. Yes, go ahead.
Someone who has a good experience with programming but haven't used the Firebase, what do you think? Like, it's about
Firebase is very straightforward. For example, if you want to start with that, there are great tutorials that bring you from zero again to like very proficient. And you don't have to be like a SQL expert or anything like that. Firebase, they provide you with an intuitive UI where you can like host applications, build databases with no code whatsoever. So like I mentioned, the future is here. You can start building these amazing experiences using Flutter as the UI framework that then you can publish it to multiple platforms with one single code base, and tapping into Gemini where you can take it to all of these platforms and you make your applications a lot more robust, a lot more intelligent, and that can provide a lot of value to your users. Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope we guys can connect on LinkedIn, you guys, or on X, on Twitter. That's where I am. I hope you guys enjoyed this session, and thank you so much for coming. Please, let's connect. And right before you guys leave, I just wanted to raffle this. This is remember, this is Flutter Dash, which is the character of Flutter. So I'm going to ask everyone a question, and let me see if you guys remember and you were paying attention during the session. What is the API that you use in Flutter? We're using the Firebase AI SDK for production and for development. Does anybody remember? What is the API that you use in your code to, let's say, tap into Gemini for production and for development? Anybody? Just raise your hand and then if you know it. Yeah, over here. Firebase, but then there are two APIs, one for development, one for production.
next time you use for Firebase for AI and then
Very close, right behind you.
Vertex AI and Google AI.
That's correct. There you go, you got you. Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you for